and playful, but also to make sure that the information we provide is delivered in formats and in shapes that excite the intended, but also deliver information that they can actually use to improve their lives by explaining what's happening around them. So I think it's clear that the standards by which we hold ourselves have to continue improving, and the only way to do that is to force ourselves, to find ways to keep learning, as it were. I look at all the key professions, and you find that continuous learning is a very, very critical pillar in driving professional standards and professional excellence. And we all know that professional excellence is one of our main objectives. So I think it is important that we find a way to actually deploy a structure and a framework that will then encourage editors, but eventually journalists, to find going back to class as a key channel that gives them new information, new skills, new knowledge that will then help differentiate their performance in the newsroom and outside. So my plea is just let's approach this with an open mind. Let's persuade colleagues to pay attention to it, to help us define this first version of it, and fairly shortly find ways to deploy it and begin to implement it. I would urge that those of us who have ideas, let's share them robustly. It doesn't matter whether the idea is supportive of the plan or it's against the plan. We should bring it out, because it's only when we debate these new suggestions robustly that we actually confirm that, one, they can work to improve our lot, but two, if they can work, find ways to test any weaknesses that there could be, and reinforce or deal with those weaknesses before it's too late. So I thank you, and I think I'll give way to the team to just go into a meet so that you can see what's coming up. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I think I was supposed to take over. I'm not sure whether Bonyo or Komboka was supposed to invite me, but nonetheless, I've invited myself. Good morning, colleagues. And it's
morning, Prof.
Nice to be talking with everyone here and to share this idea. As Churchill has just said, KEG is, of course, interested in advancing professionalism through several initiatives and programs, including capacity building, to ensure that the journalists that we have and journalism as a profession continues to be respected and continues to be a credible, reliable, and trusted institution in Kenya. We've from time to time been told that the media is one of the critical actors in society, especially because they provide the information, they provide a platform through which we engage with information, through which we engage with one another, and through which we interrogate issues that are critical to the development of the country, and of course various other issues. And in our thinking, as we thought about developing this initiative, we realized that many organizations from time to time offered our journalists and editors training, capacity building opportunities, which are, of course, relevant to the development of journalism and the media, that are relevant to the development of professional standards and excellence that Churchill just mentioned. But we also know that these initiatives and opportunities are driven by certain agendas. So, for example, from time to time, we know that IBC, UNDP, and other organizations offer training in those very specific areas, but these are rather ad hoc, so that whatever it is that they want to do is driven by those desires, those agendas, and they want to achieve certain objectives that may not always align to those of the industry in general. We also know that many of these initiatives are hardly institutionalized, and consequently not many journalists in the country and editors, of course, benefit from the same. This is especially important given the the devolved nature of our country right now, and journalism now is moving to what I call the grassroots, but to the counties, and there are many editors and journalists in various counties that don't benefit from this training and capacity building because they, as I mentioned earlier, they're not institutionalized. And consequently, what we are thinking is that this inequality must be addressed through a systematic and institutionalized practice, and become, of course, part of the development of the capacity of journalists with a belief that this will enhance professionalism and the credibility of the professionalism. And this is the foundation upon which we want to build a culture of continuous development, a culture of continuous learning, what we call the continuing professional development or continuing journalism education program. It's of course upon us to decide what name to give it, but the idea remains that we want to ensure that the journalists and editors possess the necessary knowledge and skills to be able to practice journalism. And this is an idea that we are going to present here so that we can interrogate it further, we can understand it further, and we can then try to see how to institutionalize it so that it becomes part of the journalism profession in this country. This is, of course, a participatory and inclusive process, and we hope that at the end of the day we get buy-in from yourselves as members of Kenya Editors Guild, and of course members of the journalism profession, and organizations and media houses and companies, organizations and key actors like the Media Owners Association, Kenya Union of Journalists, Kenya Correspondents Association, the Media Council of Kenya, and even the government ultimately. We believe that such support is necessary if we want to demonstrate the importance of this initiative in the increased professionalizing of the of journalism, and obviously building the credibility and trust that I mentioned earlier. The reason why we decided to have this continuous professional development is because we believe that continuous learning is important in the development and improvement of skills and knowledge necessary for what we see as effective and efficient performance of job-related tasks. And this is perhaps in relation to what Churchill mentioned earlier: the professional standards must be enhanced, the excellence must be enhanced, and consequently we must adapt to the changes that we want to see in the media landscape in this country. We must engage, for example, with various strategies that will help improve the kind of work that we want to see the journalists engaging in. Of course, this is not a new idea in Kenya as such, but it's the first time that we as journalists are presenting this to the sector. We hope that being a professional body, KEG will help drive this process, and we will seek the buy-in of various organizations that I mentioned earlier. We know that professional bodies like the Law Society of Kenya have the continuing legal education program, which requires members to undertake a number of activities every year to earn enough points to renew their licenses. I'm told that members of the legal profession must earn at least 5 points by participating in various activities, including workshops, seminars, clinics, to be able to renew that license. And this is part sometimes of the kind of mentorship that we want to see in the journalism profession. We know that, for example, senior lawyers normally offer their experiences and their knowledge to upcoming colleagues, and from that then they earn the points. So, for instance, we can ask the editors, senior editors in the profession to offer the same, and from that they can earn the points that they need. We also note that continuous training and capacity building is, of course, necessary to advance personal and career development and professionalism. Many times people have said that they've stagnated in the newsrooms because of lack of opportunities in various companies, but also in the profession in general. But when you interrogate this further, examine it further, you realize that sometimes they do not possess the knowledge and the skills to be able to demonstrate to their seniors that they can be offered better opportunities or leadership opportunities within the newsrooms. So we hope that at the end of the day, by sharing the experiences, they can demonstrate that they've got the capacity to succeed in the newsrooms. So the suggestions that we want to make through this program is that the continuous professional development should be implemented as a way of advancing journalism education and ensuring that the journalists possess necessary skills and knowledge to practice journalism in Kenya. We say that it should, and this is rather maybe brave and ambitious, because we want to ensure, like LSK does, that all the editors earn the points to advance or to maybe renew their accreditation with the Media Council of Kenya. That is why we want to lobby the MCK and perhaps the government and via various departments to ensure that this is institutionalized as a way of promoting professionalism within the media industry. There are also suggestions that, in addition to borrowing what LSK does, and we can benchmark with them, that ours will offer, or will be offered via what we may call blended learning, which utilizes a variety of methods, including formal, informal, online, and on-the-job training and capacity building, so that KEG can work with other professional bodies to draw or to tailor-make some of the material and strategies for doing this. This will also entail, of course, drawing a curriculum of sorts, a program that may be based on data that may be collected from the journalists themselves, so that whatever we offer is actually relevant and will plug the skills that are needed or needed by various members and, of course, journalists in this country to advance their careers and advance professionalism, which is the philosophy behind what we are proposing. As I said, we hope that the points that will be earned again, we hope that members will contribute to this in determining how many points we want to see members earning as part of maybe renewing their accreditation with the Media Council of Kenya. I know that sometimes there are opposition to accreditation itself, but I think this is something that is supported by government, and consequently, unless that is removed, we may not be able to remove ourselves from that requirement itself. So, how do we then ensure that accreditation there are obviously various issues relating to how this will be done. In addition to the methodologies that I've said, how will it be financed? For example, there is an idea that we want to have a media development fund of sorts, funding that may be drawn from media houses, for instance. Media houses can contribute maybe part of their earnings, part of their profits, to set up a fund from which we can borrow to execute this plan. The other one is, of course, we can fundraise for this activity, especially because various people, various organizations, and various actors have said that there is need to continually train our journalists so that they are, they are relevant to the industry, but whatever they do is fit for purpose. So what is it that we want to see? Where do we, or what route do we want to travel? This is a roadmap that has been proposed by the team working on this. Is that this is the first of a series of meetings that we want to hold to sell the idea, to hear views from members. After today, we plan to invite LSK, for instance, to share their experiences and take us through what it is that they do for us to learn. Remember, I think experience is oftentimes better than us proposing an idea, that we may have picked from other people. So LSK will be invited to share their experiences and make a presentation and share the experiences as a way of trying to maybe enhance, in addition to what we've said, enhance the idea or take the idea further. Anyway, we will also try and organize a meeting with professional bodies, including Media Owners Association themselves. We have representation, for example, from the Kenya Union of Journalists, but the Association of Media Women in Kenya would also contribute to this. And the other, institutions may include, universities and colleges, because whatever it is that we're offering is part of training. And training of journalists, for example, does not stop at universities or in colleges, but continues to the newsrooms. And we want to contribute through this continuous development program to that learning process, if you may. And lastly, because this is, as Churchill said, this is an idea that we've been having for a long time. We want to launch it very soon, perhaps during the annual editors convention in Kisumu. So time is of the essence, and your contributions here would be incorporated in the document that we develop and in the document that will be launched later this year. I think I'll stop there and open this to you know, open it to interrogation by members that are on this platform. But I hand over to my colleagues, Bonyo.
Prof.
Yeah.
Prof. Pomboka, Bonyo, Yoki. I think it would also be useful if, and I was really hoping that we have some visuals or slides for this. If we could demonstrate to members how this could possibly work. What does it mean for an individual member on an ongoing basis?
Prezo, as I said, you know, the whole idea is to ensure that editors and journalists possess the knowledge and skills they require. This is rather experiential learning, but we borrow from what LSK does. LSK obviously recognizes that their members have the basic knowledge to practice as lawyers, and that maybe by going to court, they continue to learn from the practices in court and the practices within the field. So, you know, we also want to ensure that our members, that is the members of the journalism profession, do the same. Do the same thing. It is part of personal and professional development that is necessary to enhance credibility and professionalism, and that is something that KEG has been driving, and something that KEG wants to see, of course, as being part of the culture in the profession, of course. But I'll let the other colleagues contribute to maybe that to this debate or this discussion. But Prezo, I'm not very keen on PowerPoints. Maybe that's why I didn't have any visuals, but that's me.
Yeah, so I think we had that discussion, Professor Nyabuga, about the PowerPoint presentation. But I think going forward, maybe we can prepare maybe 5 or 4 slides just to share amongst the members. Maybe in a couple of weeks, couple of days. I'm happy to help with that. So are there any questions? Members, just feel free to engage Professor Nyabuga directly.
So, Njoki.
Yes.
In an ideal world, if members approve this, and I wanted to defend my seat, how many points should I have to be allowed to run for president?
Okay, so I think that question would be more appropriately answered by Professor Nyabuga. We haven't yet gotten into the nitty-gritties of 15, 20 points and all that. But I think this is just a, introductory meeting to introduce this concept, and then going forward, we will probably look at what is happening across the world, best practices. But I'd give this to Professor Nyabuga. He would give us some direction on that.
All right. We know that LSK, for example, requires members to get 5 points, to earn 5 points from the various activities, workshops, clinics that they conduct with maybe members. We can borrow the same, but it's not just borrowing the points or the ideas from other organizations. It is what does it really entail what does continuous professional development entail? So we can say, for example, if you leading a workshop, then you get 1 point. If you participate in maybe one workshop, one clinic, or whatever it is, then you earn 1 point. And members have been earning the points And I know, for example, I've got friends in the medical profession, and they earn maybe a point by doing something. It could be, maybe mentoring their colleagues, presenting to colleagues, outreach activities, for example, to the grassroots or in institutions of higher learning. So it is upon us to decide the number of points. But I think this would be driven more by the activities that we want our members to engage in rather than the points themselves. But we must, of course, state the minimum that would be required to ensure that this is meaningful and that it is perhaps what we think would be sufficient for us. It could be 10, but 10 is rather ambitious. So yes, I mean, I could say 5. Maybe we borrow from what LSK does, but this will be determined maybe later. And that is why maybe Njoki said this is the first of a series of meetings, after which we decide how many points we can require members to earn every year.
Thank you, Professor Nyabuga. There's a question here from Ruth Nesoba. She's asking about who will be logging in the points. I think perhaps you could speak to the larger issue of accountability and follow-up. I mean, who is going to be, what does the system paint a picture for us on how the accountability system for this process will look like?
One thing that I said earlier is that we work with regulators, for example, MCK. We know that unlike LSK, for instance, KEG does not have the powers to compel members, for example, to do this or to undertake this or to do this program. But if we work with organizations like MCK, because every year it accredits journalists, and consequently, then it's maybe for us to lobby MCK to do that on our behalf, unless, of course, we find other ways of doing that. I think the MCK route would be better for us. For now, at least. But that's my thinking.
Perhaps you could get some insights from Churchill, Evelyn, Rosalia, or anyone else who might have, insights on how to implement this. Hello?
I think they're here. Prezo, Kwamboka.
Usually, when you come with these new ideas, the best approach is to define them within our own sphere of influence first. If it can work in that space, then it becomes easy to connect other stakeholders, and that just goes to strengthen it. Yeah. So we have a list of benefits that that members get by being active in KEG. I'm sure the ways can be found so that those benefits are also enabled based on one's participation in the various learning opportunities. And I'm sure that's something the team can look at. Then, as the idea settles and gets embraced by more people, we can get to more structural, configurations. Yeah. Because depending on how this settles, I see potentially it might even lead to some amendments in the KEG constitution, so that it's more binding than just um, voluntary as it were. And if we do it right, there's nothing stops us from then also mobilizing the industry, to then adopt that kind of a continuous learning process. Thank you.
Um, Thank you, Churchill. Um, Probably, Prof. Nyabuga, you might want to speak a little bit more on the strategic partnerships that we were thinking about, whether it's training institutions and other institutions whose goals and vision align with KEG. I don't know if you spoke about that earlier, but maybe you might want to um, uh, put a bit more light on that.
Yes, I said one of the things that we intend to do is, of course, lobby our partners, including KUJ, for example, that is represented here maybe by Mary Daraja, but also KCA, and the regulators like MCK. Once I think we get the buy-in, and MOA would be important, and the media companies themselves, of course, given the fact that if we get the green light from them, then it becomes easier for us to institutionalize this CPD. Because, as I said, without that buy-in, then it becomes problematic. Remember, we want to ensure that this is a compulsory program for members. We've oftentimes been told that the media profession, for example, is going through serious professional challenges, including people that masquerade as journalists. And we want to contribute to that, the credibility and professionalism of the profession, if you may, is critical. And from what LSK does, it means that they are able to engage their members, and their members must earn these points. So, how do we ensure that members of the profession, of the journalism profession, earn the points without making it mandatory? Because if it's voluntary, then it becomes problematic for people to actually undertake this exercise. And this is why I said if we rope in MCK particularly, CA to some extent, we can lobby the government and we can lobby Parliament to some extent to review, for example, the MCK Act to make CPD one of the requirements for anybody to practice journalism in Kenya. And, of course, this will be our idea, but if we manage to have it within the law, I think the better.
Thank you, George. So there is a comment here from Komchetsi Makohe. He says that if we start from the desire to equip members to be competent, then the training might likely come from other organizations. I think I agree with that, and I think this might be an opportunity to explore partnerships with other international organizations, whether it's One Infra, Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism, and many other institutions that offer this kind of training, and also maybe an opportunity to upskill journalists, introduce some very interesting training such as technology, coding, and stuff like that. So I am going to open the floor. Anyone who would like to voice their opinion on this comment, question, this is your time.
But let me just maybe Njoki respond quickly before maybe allowing other members to contribute and respond to what Kwama said, suggested. Yes, I agree. To a large extent with the comments, but also say that the CPD would be, offered alongside maybe this. issue these areas that is mentioned. For instance, if we think that health is an important element, if we think that technology is an important element, then one member, for example, of the member of the Editors Guild, say an editor, can earn a point by having a workshop on emerging issues. For example, how to respond to COVID-19, how to respond to surveillance via technology, the safety and the safety of journalists, for example. So maybe the person doing that earns a point. The people participating also earn a point. And at the end of the day, I think this will contribute to professional excellence that we are seeking as KEG. So we can, from time to time, obviously tweak whatever it is that we are offering based on what we think or what we believe or what we might have found out through some sort of research to be maybe issues that are emerging, issues that interest the journalists. The most important thing for now is to ensure that we sell this idea, and this idea becomes part of the culture within the journalism profession itself. The areas for specific training can be decided from time to time.
Yep. Anyone else? Yes, just as I acknowledge your comment, probably a kitty or fund under KEG in which media owners and other stakeholders contribute could possibly ensure sustainability of CPD. I think George spoke to that. So if there's no other comment, perhaps the question that is on the table right now, Professor Nyabuga, would be, what are the next actionable steps and what are the timelines looking like?
The next meeting, and Joki, you might want to share the roadmap that we developed previously. But the next step would be to invite, for example, LSK to make a presentation, because we think that we want to benchmark with LSK, but also for them to share their experiences and apprise the members of what it is that they do as a way of advancing professionalism within the legal profession. But yes, there are certain dates that we've decided on. Maybe Njoki, you want to share those?
Sure, why not? So I think the first step in this process was to pitch this idea to the members. That has just happened. So the next step is to invite members from LSK, PRSK, IHRM to just tap into their experiences and best practices. So we are looking at the first weekend of November. So that possibly could be 7th of November. Then we're looking at meeting with other stakeholders such as Media Owners Association and Kenya Union of Journalists. So we are looking at November 17th. Then after we have gotten all those, we've aggregated all those views, we will have a second meeting with the members for the final buy-in. And we're looking at Saturday, November 28th, same time. So that's this time next month. And as a team, we were proposing that perhaps we could launch this document during the convention on Saturday, December 5th. So those are the timelines that we are looking to achieve. And I think we'll share this alongside the PowerPoint presentation that we will put together with the members, sort of like a package that will outline this roadmap. So any questions on the timelines? Any questions on the meetings with LSK, PRSK, other stakeholders such as Media Owners Association and KUJ?
Hi.
Evelyn? Oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so just talk about the nature of the CPD as being compulsory. Should it be compulsory from the word go or compulsory progressively? And also that the calendar year. So you earn points annually. Okay, so KEG calendar year begins in January to December. So the points, do they become cumulative so that you earn points this year, and then do we add to the points for next year? And when you reach a certain target, what would be that certain target be? For KEG members? Can we create a position? I know the LSK has some targets. For instance, they have members who have accumulated certain number of points being qualified for some benefits. So could we look into that? Thank you.
Rosalia, let me respond quickly to some of the things that you've said. Yes, but this once this document gets the buy-in of the media stakeholders, the media fraternity, then it ceases to become a KEG document. It becomes an industry document. The strategy and the initiative is driven by KEG, but I think it would. Not be a KEGS document anymore. And I like what, for example, Kwam shared, which is continuous development for what for medical practitioners and dentists in Kenya. It's probably the same kind of thing that we are looking at. Because KEG obviously is a member-based organization, but members are only drawn from senior editors or the editors and maybe people that have been editors before, and of course academia for academics like myself. Yes, it will be maybe once we launch the program, it could be that we give people time to start doing or doing whatever it is that is necessary to earn the points. So they could be maybe we give people a year to prepare themselves, as we also maybe try to fundraise and maybe develop that media fund that we are thinking about. There will be further thinking once we develop this program. But at the moment, I think the most important thing is that we get it off the ground so that it can start to grow. And let me say that we will develop as a team a short document, a summary of what it is that we've said here, that will be shared with members by latest Monday, and you can start to interact with that, interrogate it further, and contribute to these discussions. So we'll share a document Monday, but just a summary of the presentation and what we're thinking.
Right. So there's a very interesting comment here, a question from Ruth Nesoba. She's asking how we are going to address self-initiated training or learning, and how it will be awarded and incorporated as part of this CPD effort. Perhaps, Prof, you could address that.
All right. I think, we have to think about this self-initiated training. So it could be that we incorporate that in the document, because I think, yes, many of us sometimes initiate our own training or capacity building. So, and maybe this must be awarded in one way or the other. So, yes, Ruth will think about this. And but I think it's important that that becomes part of the document as well. But as long as it's within the ambit of what it is that we are proposing to do. So if you go off and do, say, a master's in something that may not be related in journalism or media, then I'm not sure how we're going to award that. But nonetheless, it's an idea worth mulling over and deciding on how to proceed.
Okay. Any further questions, comments? I think at this point, I want to hand over to Rosalia for some closing remarks.
Thanks, Njoki. I've seen a number of people came in on board. I've seen Aduda. Hi. I also saw Rosaline come in.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, Aduda, you seem to be speaking. I think I'd like to give you an opportunity so that we do not lock anyone out of the comments.
I think Aduda has connection issues. So I think there are other people that have joined the meeting late. We hope that they got a gist of what it is that we were discussing. But if they didn't, as I said, we'll share a summary of the presentation so that they can interact with the idea, they can interact with the document as a way of understanding what it is that we're proposing.
Okay.
Thanks, Rosalia. Just saying hi.
Okay, hi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Prof, we've understood. At least we'll benefit from the summary of the presentations. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, David.
All right. So, in conclusion, thank you so much, members.
I think, Rosalia, I think Churchill wanted to say something. He had turned on his microphone before they started talking. Prezo?
I was just going to say that Kwams has posted something on the members group. I think it's clear that the core team have some work cut for them. Today's is more like a brainstorm, but these ideas must then be reduced to a properly structured plan that clearly shows members how it will work, so that as we move to the point where we'll be asking members to take a vote, a lot of these questions must be answered for them. You know, so we have the example of what the doctors work with. I'm sure we can get a similar document from the lawyers. Then we can develop our own that speaks to our unique space. So might be this team will need to retreat and then guide us on when we can see a draft or a similar document.
Yes, and my suggestion would be, as George shares this with the members for public participation, I think perhaps Rosalia, you could assist us, or somebody from the office to assist us to just aggregate all these views, which we, in good time, which we will use for our second presentation, because so that in our second iteration, it sort of is going to be a more improved version of what we have, and everyone's views have been included.
All right, that's noted. We'll share a report.
And because we like retreats, please, Rosalia, make available the funds for the retreat that Prezo suggested.
Noted, George. Okay, so I was gonna say that, yeah, thanks to the team for preparing this. And since given that KEG is driving a strategy that will later on be adopted by the industry, and that it's a new thing for all of us, thanks for your participation, and we'll be looking forward to hearing more about what you have to say about the strategy and about the continuous development program. And I think it will increasingly fall into shape as we talk more about it, and also as we hear from different professions like LSK, which we have invited, and also Institute of Human Resource Management, because theirs is already established and is already working. So then it will be good to benchmark with them and hear what it is that they did and how they continuously update the CPD. Yes, so from me, thank you so much. And let's give our views and help to enrich the document that will be presented by this team, spearheaded by the Innovation Committee of Kenya Editors Guild. Thank you so much. So back to you.
I just wanted to say quickly that thanks everyone that has attended today's meeting. We shall make available that document and try and develop our own document, maybe something similar with what the medical professionals have and the lawyers and the other professional bodies in this country. So thanks, and we of course rely on your continued support because whatever it is that we're doing is on behalf of the media industry. I use that word reluctantly, but nonetheless, the media sector, maybe I should say. And so your support is critical going forward. Thank you very much. Maybe as everybody else exits the platform, the members of the executive remain behind for a few moments to debrief and yes, and decide on a few other things.
Ciao. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.